Now, here's what's been happening. The government requires local councils to calculate a fair cost for elderly care. That's what councils pay care homes for, the care they provide in their area. But in an exclusive analysis for Channel 4 News, Care England, which represents care homes, tell us the difference between what councils pay the homes and what it actually costs to provide and deliver that care is £1.5 billion. That's a pretty huge funding gap. Now, this figure is for England only. So what does this mean for bills? Well, 63% of those in care get their bills paid by their council at a rate that the sector claims doesn't cover the true cost of the care that they receive. And so that shortfall is added onto the bills of the 37%, many of them of elderly people in care who have to pay for their own care. They end up paying significantly higher fees for exactly the same service as these people. Now, Care England says this is self-funders being hit with additional costs, cross-subsidising basically those who are publicly funded by local authorities because councils aren't paying enough. Now, the government says it wants this cross-subsidy to stop and it's putting in more money. So what's really going on in elderly?
Boris Johnson's government promised that nobody would need to sell their home to fund care. But that's what some families are having to do.
Hello.
Oh, lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too. Can you put your hands on the frame? My mum has dementia. Okay, you got it. In addition to residential care costs that we have to pay, we also have to pay the expense of one-to-one supervision to reduce her risk of falls. So that's over £9,000 a month that we're having to find, and we had to sell her house to be able to cover those costs.
This October, a new cap was due to come into effect, meaning no one would pay more than £86,000 towards their care. But this has been pushed back 2 years beyond the next election. So, right now, if you have more than £23,250 in assets, you have to foot the whole bill, the entire thing, until your pot is nearly empty.
I think it's horrible that they have to sell things that they've worked their entire lives to pay for, to then have to spend it all on paying for their care. It's kind of like, that's not fair to me.
Can you hold on to this one, Betty? This one here.
There could be a lot more funding put into social care. It's something that absolutely everybody's going to need at one point in their life, and there's so much funding that goes to other things that you don't necessarily need. And then you have care workers that don't really get that much pay.
You're okay. You're all right. Cup of coffee?
If families don't have the funds, local authorities have to pick up the bill. But they are also stretched.
Morning. Hiya. How are you?
Josh, I'm
Come
fine,
on.
thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Approximately, 48% of the council's budget is adult social care now.
Sure.
They talk about the need across the country being multi-billion pounds in that social care gap.
And the demand's only growing, isn't it?
The demand is growing. And the more that we have to find the resources from other parts of the council, that means there's less support out there in communities, the things that keep people well and living in their own neighbourhood.
And then this is the first room that I want to show you. So this is
Hengrove Lodge has 2 vacant bedrooms they're looking to fill.
A few weeks ago, Dad had a fall at home and he was admitted into hospital. At that point, it was decided that Dad would need to go into a care home.
So we're at the point now where he's ready for an immediate discharge.
Absolutely.
He just needs to find somewhere.
Yes,
Perfect.
absolutely.
Okay.
It's estimated that as many as 1 in 7 hospital beds in England are taken up by someone who is fit to be discharged, but is waiting for suitable care to be put in place.
He's got cancer, so that worries me as to how that will develop.
Yeah, of course.
He's not obviously having any treatment for it, so it is just very much palliative care.
Do you want me to take you down to bed?
The cost of care is a major strain for families. Government after government has promised to fix the system. And yet, who pays for social care in future remains one of the big issues of our time.
No, darling.
How do we solve it?